Hello, welcome to Golden Table Tennis, where we talk about table tennis, analyze players, and make match predictions. ITTF has just introduced a new 4-game system for the group stage of the 2024 World Cup held in Macau. The system works like this. 4 games would be played for every match regardless of what happens, even if one of the players is already leading 3-love. The 4th game still needs to be played, so the final score may be 4-love, 3-1 or 2-2. There will be 48 players placed in 16 groups, and only the best player of the group advances to the round of 16. ITTF confessed that the purpose of making such changes is to make table tennis more exciting. However, a lot of fans don't buy it. They are protesting for such a stupid system. In fact, the players themselves have fallen victim of this new system. Jonathan Groth made an Instagram post expressing his disappointment as he was supposedly shown to have won the group, only later to be announced that he didn't. In this video, we are going to analyze the situation and discuss whether or not ITTF played dirty tricks in an attempt for match fixing. First things first, what happened to Jonathan Groth? Well, there was a very interesting case in that particular group. Jonathan's group consists of 2 other players, Tomokazu Harimoto and Andrej Gacina. Both Harimoto and Jonathan won against Gacina 3-1, meaning that Gacina will definitely be out of the tournament. But Groth and Harimoto was tied in games, so the winner of their encounters would determine the winner of the group. But alas, their match ended in a 2-2 tie, which means both of them are tied at 5 games won. So who would be progressing? Initially, Groth was placed ranked first on the list because he had a better points ratio than Harimoto. The points ratio is calculated by dividing the total number of points won with the total number of points lost. However, we are later informed that the total points won is more important than the points ratio, meaning to say that in a scenario where 2 players are tied in games, they will choose the player who scored the most points to move on to the next round. They even removed the points ratio score from their website. Since Tomokazu Harimoto scored a point of 35 versus Jonathan Groth of 33, Tomokazu Harimoto is by default the winner of that match with a 2-point margin. ITTF later made a post on their social media explaining that there was an error on their system to consider the players with the highest point ratio as the winner, which is the reason why they removed it from their website. However, people are very skeptical about this. They accuse ITTF of changing the rules very last minute in order to help Harimoto move on to the next round. But is that really the case? Well, I have to be fair here that this is definitely a false accusation, because ITTF has already set this rule very early on before the start of the tournament. The rules are available on their website. Rule 3.75 say that excluding match points and based solely on the ratios of wins to losses, first in games and then points, as far as if necessary to resolve the order, meaning to say that they first prioritize games, then points, and if necessary, they will take points ratio into consideration. But that is only the case in a scenario where 2 players have exactly the same number of games and same number of points. Then they will look into the win-loss ratio, which should be a very rare case. In other words, they prioritize games first, then points, lastly points ratio. It is also evident in the fact that Harimoto made a huge celebration after winning the 4th set against Groth. He wouldn't have celebrated like that if he was unsure whether he won or not. Jonathan Groth has also admitted in his IG post that he initially thought he lost. He also didn't appeal after he saw a change in the results, proving that he knew the rules from the very start and there were no last-minute manipulations. But the problem lies in the fact that this system has caused massive confusion not only towards spectators but ITTF employees themselves as well. In Jonathan Groth's post, he revealed that he was interviewed by ITTF media asking him about his feelings after winning the group and his expectation for the rest of the tournament, suggesting that he already won the group. During the live matches, both commentators accused Harimoto for making a wrong celebration and he doesn't know he already lost because he had a poorer points ratio than Groth. Throughout the live session, they kept advocating that points ratio is most important aspect of moving on to the next round and kept counting how many points the player can afford to win and lose before he gets eliminated. Due to this, they misled everyone to think that Harimoto already lost way before the match ended because he allowed Jonathan to win more than 5 points in game 3 and 4. How does ITTF allow such embarrassing situation to occur in such a grand event like the World Cup? Why would they introduce a system that even the internal people themselves do not understand? Why are the employees so poorly informed? This is so unprofessional. Besides, why is there a need to introduce this 4-game system in the first place? How does this benefit the sport in any way? My interpretation is that ITTF has certain agenda. They are definitely not doing it so they can make the sport more exciting. They are just doing it so that it is easier for lower ranked players to advance to the next round. On the contrary, it put the top seeded players in a lot of stress as they are obligated to not only win but to win by large margins. I don't think this is my own unpopular opinion. I believe a lot of viewers also see through ITTF's cheeky actions. With this system, players are not even allowed to have a slow start. Players are not allowed to play badly even by a bit, because if you play bad and lost 2 games, you will not be able to win the match no matter what. But as regular watchers of table tennis, we know that there has been a lot of massive comebacks throughout the years. Liang Jingkun managed to come back 0-2 against Harimoto to win 3-2 in the Singapore Smash 2024. He did it again against Simon Gauzy in the WTT Champions Incheon 2024. In the World Championships 2021, he also trailed 0-3 against Hugo Calderano and came back to win 4-3. Even Harimoto managed to win from 3-love down against Lin Gaoyuan. So why isn't the players allowed to fight for the 5th set? Why stop at 4 games and allow a tie to happen? Why are players not allowed to redeem themselves after having a bad start? Last Thursday, Jonathan made an update post where he wished a 5th game has been played so he could have fought for a legitimate win, but because of the system, he couldn't. A lot of top players commented to support him. Furthermore, such a system gives an unfair advantage to lower ranked players. Why? Because it would unlock their maximum confidence potential. Lower ranked players will play with much more confidence knowing that they may not need to win against the better player to qualify. They just have to push them to the limits, and in this case a draw. Then win against the other player and it could be enough for them to qualify. On the contrary, just winning may not be enough for the top seeded player. They need to win big, aka for love. Otherwise, they might go out of the tournament due to having a win ratio worse than the second player. That's the reason why you see so many unusual draws happening in the matchups that you won't expect to be a draw. For example, Chiu Dang vs Ahmed Saleh. No offense to Saleh, he is a good player, but let's face it, he is nowhere near being one of the best in the world and certainly not a player who would usually be able to push a top 15 players to 4 sets. Same goes for Alberto Mino vs Alexis Lebrun. Again, not saying he's weak, but there's a very apparent level difference between him and other top players in the world. Amy Wang against Ito as well. The close gap is very likely due to a mental difference between the top players and the non-top players due to the format changes. Let's just take a real situation to analyze. Let's take Anton Schellberg's group for example. Schellberg's group consists of 2 other players, Isaac Kwek and Lim Jong-hoon. Lim Jong-hoon and Schellberg defeated Isaac Kwek 3-1 and 4-love respectively. When Schellberg and Lim Jong-hoon played each other, it ended with a draw. But in the end, Schellberg advanced. Why? Because he defeated Isaac with a much bigger margin of 4-love than Lim Jong-hoon of 3-1. However, during the match between both of them, by right, Lim Jong-hoon should have won the match because he had more points of 43 than Schellberg's 37 points, despite the match ending in a draw. Overall, Lim Jong-hoon is also the player with the most points in the group, but just because Schellberg defeated Isaac more convincingly, he proceeds. Do you think this is fair? You see, here's the problem with this. It is a very inaccurate way of telling who the best player is. You can't just say because a player wins more convincingly, he is automatically a better player. Likewise, you can't just say because the score is close, he is playing badly. The score of a match may be different due to various factors such as unfamiliar with opponent's strategy, playstyle differences, not warm up properly, etc. For example, Wang Chuqing defeated Hugo Calderano 4-2, but Liang Jingkun defeated Hugo Calderano 4-1. Does that make Liang Jingkun a better player than Wang Chuqing? Ling Shidong defeated Christian Carlsen 3-love, but Wang Chuqing only defeated Carlsen with a 3-2 score. Does that make Wang Chuqing weaker than Ling Shidong? Those are a very few examples of how inaccurate choosing a player depending on how dominant the match is. Not only is this a very inaccurate way of telling who the better player is, it also causes other problems. For example, players giving up before the match ends. You have seen this a few times during the tournament. Chu Dang just purposely hit balls out and let Togami win the 4th set 11-0 because he knows he has no chance of winning even if he takes that game. Cruz Morgat went full exhibition mode knowing that he has no chance to move on until even the umpire had to step in to remind them not to throw the match. Simone Gauzy went to training mode against Zhang Wujin. You can say this would make the game more fun, but in reality, this is such a disgraceful way to end the match and it shows the lack of professional sportsmanship amongst the players. Worst of all, such a system has so much loopholes to invite match fixing amongst the players themselves. Let's say in a hypothetical example, a group has 3 players, Ma Long, Gauzy, and Hugo Calderano. Simone Gauzy and Hugo Calderano are great friends and they want to help each other move on to the next round. Gauzy volunteered to lose to Hugo so that Hugo can fulfill his dreams. Let's say Ma Long played badly and draw 2-2 against Hugo Calderano, but he was able to beat Gauzy 3-1. Gauzy and Hugo saw this loophole and decided that he wanted to help Hugo proceed. So Gauzy purposely lose to Hugo Calderano 4-love, as well as scoring less than 5 points in all games. In this case, Hugo is going to move on as he overall has more points than Ma Long and he defeated Gauzy with a much better margin. While this is a very extreme example that would most likely not happen in the real world, I just want to show it to you to address the possibility of match fixing through personal manipulation. ITTF and WTT are not a stranger to making weird changes that doesn't benefit the sport in any way. When they first introduced WTT in Macau back in 2020, they came up with a no-deal system where players who score 11 points first wins. Then for the final, they introduced a best of 9 system where the players who win 5 games will be the champion. They changed the camera angle to the awful side angle that nobody likes. They changed the game format to a best of 5 for earlier rounds when it was initially best of 7 for every round. They hold grand events in countries like Saudi Arabia where table tennis isn't even popular and no top players come from there. They spend so much money on making the arena look cool by decorating the courts with neon lights but can't even attract people to come and watch. They announce big prize money but then never pays the players, as revealed by Quadri Aruna that he hasn't even received his payment for the WTT Cup Finals Doha 2023. Just look at badminton. They haven't made any big changes in years, but the sport is growing much faster than table tennis. Both WTT YouTube and Instagram has more than 1 million followers, but WTT only has about 600k followers for Instagram and 900k for YouTube. Don't ITTF and WTT see the problem? They make changes in places that don't even matter. Back in the days, people complained about camera quality and they never bothered to fix it. Then nobody complained about the angle being bad, they change it. They do all the unnecessary stuff. Table tennis is already at a disadvantage to many sports due to the nature of the sport. The ball may be too small and too fast for spectators to see, and a lot of table tennis rallies only last about 3 balls or less, which further decrease viewing experience. Occasionally, there may be 1 or 2 crazy points, but that's about it. Overall, the rallies are much shorter. Badminton and tennis have much longer rally, which makes it more exciting, but the dynamics of table tennis makes it very difficult to play rallies more than 5 balls consistently. But the organization for the sport is further ruining the sport with their awful policies. My suggestion to ITTF is this: if you want to try something new to see if it brings more audience to the sport, that's fine. But once you see that it failed, please remove it immediately. This 4-game system is already a very obvious fail, so please don't even use this again in the future tournaments. I have come to the end of the video. What do you guys think? Do you like this 4-game system? Do you think it should be removed? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We can discuss this together. With that, I would like to conclude today's video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.